Welcome to another episode of the Swords and Sports Podcast. One man journey to read 52 fantasy books in 52 weeks and create 52 podcasts documenting the experience. I am your host, Mike Mogues, the man embarking on this journey. And this week I'm joined by Cameron Johnston. Cameron Johnston, wasn't he on last week? Yes, you are correct. And if you didn't know that, go back and listen to last week's episode. Because Cameron Johnston, my best friend, though I think that, is back for the duology podcast mini-series extravaganza to talk about the second book in his duology, God of Broken Things. We could argue over whose duology is better, but since he's a part of both of them, I don't think he'll care. The interview is coming up after the book details. Cameron Johnston. I'm obsessed with him. And also his name is really hard to say really fast. So you gotta challenge yourself every once in a while. Buy his new book, The Maleficent 7, coming out August 10th. Rave reviews already, and I am sure a lot more to come. As a quick self-promo, you can find this podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Well, what are those podcast listening platforms? Those platforms are Spotify, Apple, Audible, Google Play, Stitcher, all the good ones. And I'm building out a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is Swords and Sports as well. I'm putting up videos of the full episodes, and I'm also doing clips. Where can you find those clips? You can find them on Instagram. The handle is @SwordsandSports. Want to know more news about what's coming up in the following weeks? I make all my announcements on Twitter. The handle is also @SwordsandSports. I don't think I'm ready to make my announcement yet. I wrote it in my notes, but let's hold off one more week. I got big things coming. Let's get into these book details because it's time to talk about the book. The book is The God of Broken Things. The author is Cameron Johnston. The series is The Age of Tyranny. This is the second book, which means it's a completed series. Wrap it up. It's a wrap. It was published June 11th, 2019. It is 432 pages on the paperback edition. The publisher is Angry Robot, which actually might be my favorite name for a publisher. It's just at least the most unique. And the books in the series are The Traitor God and The God of Broken Things. Spoiler warning. This podcast contains spoilers for the following books: The Traitor God and The God of Broken Things by Cameron Johnston. If you haven't read them yet, consider this your first. And I think there's another one somewhere in the podcast. Warning. Without further ado, my best friend Cameron Johnston.
You get some earbuds at some point.
You need to get some what?
I do need to get some earbuds at some point.
Yeah, I made that switch about maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, and it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I'm reading off of a piece of paper, so like the wiring gets annoying.
Oh, absolutely. I keep having to turn around, and I'm like, I need to take them out.
All right, let's do this thing. He is back. The one and only British Fantasy and Dragon Award finalist, author of The Age of Tyranny duology, the man himself, Cameron Johnston. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. You've clearly not had enough punishment.
I feel like you are just a glutton for pain by coming back to do the first ever duology podcast series.
I know, long time no see, huh?
Also, your book's coming out soon, Maleficent 7.
Yes, I'm quite excited about that. It's probably the most fun thing I've ever written, to be honest.
While the first podcast episode isn't out yet, I imagine that the pre-orders between episodes 1 and 2 of the duology series are just going to skyrocket. So we could just thank me in advance.
I think so. It's all down to you.
We were talking after the podcast last time, and you had such a good story about being at the British Fantasy Awards with recurring guest of the show, Peter McLean.
Oh, yes. Marvelous man. Buy his books.
Buy his books as well. Maybe watch his TV series if it gets made.
Oh, I'm excited about that. Yeah. That's going to be a hell of a lot of fun if that gets made. But you never know with these things. There's a lot of books get options, but Hollywood's even worse than publishing for just confusing you.
Yeah, definitely. I could imagine he was explaining it a little bit as well, and it's cool to be acknowledged like that. What are the spreads like at these awards things?
Um, not as glitzy as you imagine, really.
Do they at least have pigs in a blanket? Well,
No,
then it's a
generally
night.
not. I mean, I'd love one year just have an enormous buffet or something like that. But usually you have to order your dinners in advance and that kind of thing. But yeah, they're pretty kind of bog standard dinners usually, anyway. But
No.
I think they've probably someone at some points probably had a buffet in an open bar and it's gone horribly wrong when all the authors got there.
Yeah, I can imagine it.
Oh yeah.
It only gets more and more wild the longer the open bar is open.
Although when you go to big cons like Worldcon, um, there's quite a lot of book launches, and they tend to have free nibbles and free wine. You know, the bigger the publisher and the bigger the author that's launching a book, the glitzier it can get sometimes.
Have you thought about blacksmithing bottle openers for your book launch and passing that out?
Well, I have thought about it, but it's more the time involved, unfortunately.
Also, I got a bone to pick with you. I thought this blacksmithing stuff was super complicated. I looked up how long it takes to make a sword. Reddit tells me it takes a week.
Again, it depends on the sword and who's doing it.
How long would it take you to make a sword?
Oh, I'd need to learn how to do it properly first. So there's that.
I don't know. I think you could do it in a week.
But yeah, one of these days, if I ever get like a Netflix deal, I've had my eyes on some really nice swords. The problem is they're very pricey.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last time. You said
Yeah.
they were upwards of 2 Gs.
Oh yeah, but that's like kind of top of the range. They're more like art than weaponry.
Right. Would you buy like a replica of some famous sword?
Oh no, definitely not.
Right.
Most of those, the replicas, they tend to be wall hangers that you wouldn't want to swing about, because they'll probably fall apart in your hands. You'd swing it
Right.
and it would fly off, and someone would just happen to be walking past at that moment.
For everyone who didn't listen to the first interview, Cameron actually knows how to use these weapons, so he doesn't want a piece of shit replica. He wants a killing
No.
sword.
Yeah, you want something, you can use it.
Your arsenal of weapons is just growing by the day, and it's getting alarming. What are the, we talked last time about the efficacy of swords, and I'm still not sure if that's the correct word for it, but whatever. And I wanted to ask a question that I don't think gets asked very often. What are the worst medieval weapons?
The worst ones? I don't think there are any worst medieval weapons. I think using them for, because some of them are very specialized. Quite often when I read about you get the fantasy book with the villager up in arms and they're fighting with scythes. They're terrible weapons. Absolutely terrible.
I was researching this because I wanted to seem prepared in case you started dropping some knowledge on me. And Reddit had a lot of opinions on this. It seems like anything that gets converted from farming tool to weapon is not very effective.
Well, I mean, the thing with the scythe is if you're going to be fighting in formation, you need a big swing with a scythe, and they're balanced for cutting crops, but they're not really balanced for fighting.
Right.
What you'd be better doing is taking the scythe blade off and sticking it on the end of a spear, like a big long spearhead.
Okay,
that would work.
Okay, can I give you what Reddit determined were the worst weapons?
Go on then.
The nunchucks, which apparently were developed from a farming tool as well. The Rami whip sword.
Probably for threshing grain, I think.
That's exactly. There was a whole thread on threshing, which I ignored.
Well, I mean, I did go through that phase in school where making your own nunchucks. So bruises.
Yeah, let's not forget that.
Wouldn't recommend it.
Your schooling experience was much different than mine. What about the ball and chain flail? Apparently, that people didn't really use this.
Well, again, I think you could use it. Just you'd be better off using other things.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that one personally. But you would get a lot of force behind that blow once you've swung around. You know, you'd get a lot of blow. Just, but you could use a quarter staff or a warhammer, or a nice mace or a war pick.
Yeah, but
So
what if all you?
if you want to blow that heavy, I'd go with one of those.
Okay. And my favorite, which I think is the most preposterous thing I've ever heard, is the lantern shield.
Oh, what's that one?
Literally like a shield with a lantern on it for like fighting.
Not sure I've seen that one.
Apparently, one of the kings of England, I'm gonna just guess and say like Henry or Edward, because that's like half of them, invented like a gun shield as well.
Oh yeah, gun shield. Yeah, I've seen those. They would be very effective, but again, you'd get one shot, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, but it's awesome.
Yeah. One of the ones I like are the pistol axes. So you fire your shot and you turn it around, and the hilt's basically an axe blade. How can it go wrong? Yeah.
Just like, how many times do you think someone thought, "Wow, I'm a pro at this," and then they get into real combat and they get absolutely worked?
Well, anyone that's watched a lot of YouTube videos where they try all the fancy martial arts, how to disarm people with blades and stuff, and then they get just some random person to try it, and they're just standing getting stabbed.
I could picture just like someone coming into like a Krav Maga class with all these like crazy weapon situations and just getting the crap beat out of them.
Yeah, but I mean, everything can work on a technical level if you're in a particular training setting, but in real life, someone's coming at it with the knife, you can be as skilled as anyone in the world, and chances are you're still going to get cut.
Yeah, I mean, I also saw one that was it was like a 5-shooter gun. It had like 5 barrels that shot in all directions, and it was so bad. It was so bad that during the Civil War, a Northern general invented it, and they sold it to the South.
That's a different kind of meta level, that is.
I just like what do you think the idea process is where you're like, what do we need to that is better? What's better than 1 barrel? 5.
I mean, you've got to remember a lot of these things were invented for showing off by rich people, the nobility and whatnot. So if someone can come up with a gimmick weapon, they'll be having their shooting parties or whatever, and someone will trot out this weird and wonderful gun that some master artisan has made, and it might not work, but ooh, look at that! Not seen that before.
What if you could make up a weapon? What would you make up if you could see it done?
Oh, everything I can think of that's weird's been done. Everything that's too weird that I'd want to see is just no one would ever make it. But I mean, I do like gun blades. Like
Yes,
Final Fantasy style.
Yeah.
I think those are really cool, but really impractical things.
My idea for a weapon is like wearing like spikes on the front of your body and a lasso. Right. And you lasso a guy in and you just throw your body out and they impale themselves on your chest.
That's one way to do it. But then someone accidentally kicks you into a tree and you just get stuck there. Like,
oh shit. Yeah. For every good idea, there's a better idea.
Because I used to think it'd be really cool to have like a gauntlet with like a Wolverine style blade, clench your fist and a blade.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, until you get it stuck in something and you're stuck. You can't let go.
I feel like so many cool weapons are just get stuck, so it doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, lots of them have got your straps on the hilts and whatnot, and yeah, sure, they stop it flying out of your hand, but someone could grab that weapon, twist it, and you're attached. It's not going to go well. But some of the best weapons are. Have you seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Yes.
Yeah. See the end of that when the policeman grabs the shield. That's a lethal weapon. That is. But I love shields, and they are lethal weapons. They're one of the best weapons you can get. Good old shield bash to the face.
Unless if you attach a lantern to it.
Well, yeah. But I'm guessing you'd have a guard in front of you with that lantern shield, and their other hand's and then free for a sword.
Yeah, I think the problem is like lanterns run on oil, and if it falls over, it just burns you.
Well, yeah. then maybe you're punching someone with that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
On them.
A flaming fist. There you go.
But knowing me, I would forget it's on fire. I'll just scratch my chin. Oops.
Well, you're used to taking a beating. So
I'd rather not be on fire, though.
Yeah, not an enviable situation. When I was picking up the second book for the first ever duology podcast, which is just a great brainchild.
You wouldn't be having a lot of those because there's not that many duologies.
I have a bunch of duology questions, but first I wanted to ask, how many books in a series have the word "the" in the book's first title and not in the second title?
Who knows? I mean,
I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's the same with films, though. Whenever think of a film beginning with B, you have to discount the, right?
Okay. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it seems like Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, and then the next book doesn't have that. So you and Brandon Sanderson, you're in good company.
If I can sell as much as Brandon Sanderson, that's a good day.
Think how many swords you could buy then. You could supply your whole countries with weapons.
Oh, well, you have to get a bigger house, to be honest.
Well, you're working on it. What do you call a duology?
Probably that. If you get two sets of two duologies. Yeah, probably.
Have you ever considered writing a dueling duology? So like a duology that is like dueling your first duology?
Along those kind of lines, I have considered doing like a duology or a dual duology, but they're from completely different sides of, say, the quest.
Right.
So you've got one book about the heroes, and then you've got the other books about the heroes on the other side. It's all complete matter of perspective.
Do you think your publisher would, like the marketer would brain would explode at trying to market a dueling duology?
Yeah, marketing's a weird and wonderful, because they're selling to you and me, they're selling to booksellers and, warehousing people and other publishers and distributors and all that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of side of publishing I don't really know too much about. Writing books, sure. Editing and whatnot, fine. Beyond that, when it goes into distribution and selling the things, that's the benefits of traditional publishing.
Definitely. Yeah, if you knew anything about marketing, you wouldn't be coming back on this podcast.
But I know quite a lot of self-published people, and they're doing it properly. Really good books, really good editing, really good covers and marketing. But some of the time involved is just immense. Having to shell out for Amazon adverts and all that. And,
God, it's a nightmare. It's not an enviable situation, but when it works, it works.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
One of the cool things about book 2, and maybe I missed a bunch, but what are the best author cameos in fantasy? And why weren't Dirk and Ashton tortured more?
Well, I was being uncharacteristically nice to Dirk.
That's a fucking mistake.
I've never lived it down, to be honest. Yeah. Need to prepare a special one for that.
Yeah. Do you see this in other books? What are some good ones?
Edward Cox, his third book features me and my friend Rob. We ran it for about 3 pages.
What happens to you guys if it's non-spoilery?
Oh well, it's not a big spoiler, but we get killed off pretty promptly.
Good. Rob deserves it. Maybe you not so much.
And then there's have you read Sam Hawk?
No.
Sam's second book has quite a few cameos of other authors getting poisoned in various horrible ways.
I kind of love this idea. I wanna see you killed on the big screen, or I guess on the little screen, depending on
it's a little bit disturbing, but I think I get you.
That's why this isn't going to be a trilogy podcast series. I mean, anything.
It's actually a lot more common than you think that someone gets a little reference.
Yeah, I mean, you could go the ultimate hubris and just put yourself in the book like Stephen King did in The Dark Tower.
But I could do that, but I'd probably be harsher on myself than I would be to someone else.
Right. Or you're too good a writer to do that. Shout out to that series. I hate it.
Okay, note to self, don't do that.
One of the things I used to do on this show was I used to do this segment called Tackle a Topic. And I would peruse Reddit fantasy for good talking points. And,
right. Okay.
And since you're back again, I was thinking that we could do this. This topic comes from esteemed Redditor username Noseboop90.
That's pretty high class of Reddit. Let's be honest.
Yeah, big fan. Name a fantasy character you love, but everyone else seems to hate.
That I love that everyone else seems to hate. Not sure I have one of those. I don't know if it's just because I've got a lot more exposure to a lot of various forums and things like that. But every character I can think of gets a lot of love.
Okay.
Even the bad ones, like you've got in Joe Abercrombie's first trilogy, you've got Glotka, who's just absolutely horrible character. Yeah,
great character.
Everyone loves him. I just like interesting characters. I don't really care whether they're good or bad, but everyone I seem to like, other people like. So,
so there's your answer, Noseboop. Cameron loves them all.
That's a tough one to answer.
Yeah, I threw that kind of at you. I had Angerhard from your own series.
Oh yeah.
I had Malfoy. You know what? I want to start the.
But people like Malfoy.
Who the fuck likes Malfoy?
They do. They love to hate him.
So there you go. Is loving to hate him, loving him, or hating him?
Again, it's an interesting character, isn't it?
Yeah, he is an interesting character. I just like how he just leans into his privilege. He's like, "Fuck it, this is who I am."
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's a lot of humanizing bad characters.
Right.
I'm sure that there is some of that comes in later, but you can humanize bad characters too much. You want them to be bad characters.
Right. If they're going to be evil, keep them evil.
Yeah, but I mean, you can again, privilege, you can give them reasons for that. And it totally makes sense in character.
That's true. You know what? Maybe there is no truly hated character anymore.
Wow. No, there is. I'm thinking of Wheel of Time.
Yeah, so I had a bunch of Wheel of Time takes too. What is?
Yeah, that's my go-to for I hate that character.
Who do you hate?
Oh, Egwene.
People love to hate her as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally understandably.
Is she the worst Amerlin of all time?
Ugh, she's not good.
She is not good. You know what? I think she is the worst. I'm curious how they're going to portray her in the show.
Entirely differently.
Yeah. They probably have to make her likable, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have read that whole series. I do have my problems with it, but I did enjoy it up until the book 7.
Up until book 7, and then what? Did you read the other 7?
Oh yeah, I read those. There's a distinctive dip in quality there, though.
It really gets lost in the weeds.
Yeah, it's the same as a lot of these things. You get too many different places. If you want to show all, the entire book takes place in 3 days, and you've always got certain characters you prefer, and they're only in like 3 chapters or something. You're like, no, I want more of them, but you can't because you're trying to show everything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there is a lot of problems with the Wheel of Time, and if it wasn't considered a classic, I'm not sure it would hold up.
See, this is the problem I had with, in fact, the Age of Tyranny duology, because it's from a single viewpoint. So there's lots of things I really wanted to show, but I can't because he's not there. He can't see it.
Right.
And, I didn't want to just put in another point of view character just to show random things when the rest of it's all from his point of view.
And yet, there is one.
Well, maybe.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, then I did the complete opposite, and I did the Maleficent 7. So I've got 7 main points of view and several minor ones, so I could show everything.
You're like
that was a different set of writing problems.
I was gonna say, like, you're like the classic overcorrector.
Yeah, absolutely.
You felt so trapped by this one POV that you're like, fucking, I'm doing 7.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to stretch yourself, isn't it? Stretch your writing muscles.
Right.
And just hope it works.
Everybody will find out, what, August 10th?
August 10th, yep.
Peep the reviews. It's fucking being praised to high heavens.
Oh, do you know what? There's always going to be people that aren't going to like it. But I think there's a lot of people responding to just how fun I think it was. So I had massive amounts of fun writing it, and I think it's massive amounts of fun to read. And there seems to be a lot of people responding to that. So that bodes well. I
mean, I think it's massive amount of fun talking to you, so I can't imagine that this would be any different.
Oh, it might be quite a dark book because, they're all bad characters. Well, not bad characters, but nasty characters, evil villains. But, they can still be funny at times.
I think that you proved that you have an extremely dark sense of humor that works really well.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're writing with villains.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's the fun of it. Let's get into these book questions.
You can go too far, though.
You can never go too far.
I've not found that line yet, but I'm sure you can.
Well, this is the perfect lead-in. Is Angrahard, which is definitely a butchering of the pronunciation, is she actually the hero of the story?
No. There you go. There's an answer. She's a hero of her story.
She saves the world.
Well, does she?
Yeah, if she didn't kill all her children, she would have never kept having children until eventually we got Edrin.
Yeah, but maybe they would have gone on to do better things as well.
None of them had any magic.
Well, magic's not the be-all and end-all, is it?
I don't know. It certainly seems to
help
in this stuff. I'd rather have it than not.
That's like saying, oh yes, look at such and such. They started their business and now they're the head of a multi-billion corporation, only with help from that $200 million loan from their dad.
That seems oddly specific, and I feel like I know who you're talking about.
It could be one of a number of people.
Right. I feel like I'm willing to concede the point that she might not be the best of mothers.
No. when you've got a main character that's that messed up, they're yeah. Some of their family are bound to be bad.
Wouldn't that have been a plot twist if the grandmother was super nice?
I think it'd be a very different book, though. Oh no, what will I do now? Fortunately, I have this very helpful family member.
Should the Ogre get off their high horse? They want to claim that they love peace so much, but then they're okay with Angrahead killing her children.
Well, it's that whole thing of we are a completely non-interventionist. You know, we're the good guys. We don't get involved with any of that nastiness. We just let it happen. They're very much like the UN.
Okay. Is it important to take pleasure in giving? I felt like Edrin giving the gift of his grandma's hands and feet to her fellow clan members was a good gift.
Well, he certainly thought so, yeah.
You should take pride in gift giving. It's important.
Yeah, it does make you feel good. Yeah.
Here is what I think is one of the best questions I've ever come up with. If Edrin's name was...
I bet I can't answer this.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be great. If Edrin's name was Edrin Runner instead of Walker, would he have been faster?
No, because he's always trying to run away. If he was a bit faster, he'd be off. He wouldn't even be there. Halfway across the world.
I don't know why I thought that was such a good question. That question sucked.
But who doesn't like a good pun? Eh?
You've got some... Oh, speaking of good puns, the missing sentry who dies while pooping, is that the shittiest way to go? You can hit the end button now, anytime.
Well, you've got to have jokes in, especially if you've got quite a dark book. I love reading grimdark, but when it's just relentlessly grim all the time, it just gets very monotone for me. So you've got like Glenn Cook's The Black Company. You've got all of those characters, none of which are particularly good, but you get the banter,
right?
You get them all riffing off each other and making jokes at each other's expense, playing pranks and all this kind of thing. So probably that and David Gemmell, where he had a lot of bad characters that still had that little spark of goodness in them, and it just always made things more interesting for me. Just made them all seem a bit more like a rounded character. But it also just it mixed the tone up a little bit, so I didn't want to slip my wrists.
That got dark.
I think this is why books like Nicholas Eames' Kings of the Wild did so well.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of dark books, and then you've got something that's fantasy, but it's just unashamed fun, and it's not trying to be anything else. It's just here's some really entertaining, fun adventures. Off you go.
I mean, it does seem to be working. What's worse, going through the forging or being Ava for one day?
Oh yeah, probably the forging. Yeah. That's not terrible. No, not fun.
It seems like a little bit of acupuncture with some slight mind melding.
Yeah, mental torture, physical torture, magical torture. I like the little details, but they're put on like a metal plate with holes in it, for all the pee to drain away because you're just losing all bowel control.
Yeah, that part maybe not so fun. But so Ava's life sucks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But then you go through a kind of citywide apocalypse. One of the things I want to do was you're not going to come out of that unscarred.
Yeah, that's a good point. I had a bunch of questions about this. Is Walker leaving Ava to die and her liking him more for it the ultimate example of if you love something, don't cage it, let it go, and if it flies back to you, it's for real?
Well, I mean, she was also really big on duty. He had the job to do, And if she thought her getting injured was stopping him from doing that, you'd get a real ticking off if you survived, you know?
So, Edrin claims to be a mind fucker. And at the end of the book, he actually fucks a mind. Is this the ultimate example of being a sapiosexual?
Yeah, I probably would be, actually, yeah. Because you're kind of taking the body out of the equation entirely, aren't you? So
Yep.
it's all about the psyche. Yeah.
I've got some more questions like this, so please bear with me. How attractive is a good beard?
That's a very personal question.
All right.
He says, looking at a beard on the other side of the screen. But yeah, again, it's one of those fun little things that when you're writing away, this little scene just pops into your head, and you just chuckle away, and you're just like, you know what, that amused me. I'm just keeping that in.
Was this a projection? Because you're pretty clean shaven.
Well, I had a beard for about 9 months at one point.
Okay,
and, you know that was kind of it.
Also, there's a term for this. Did you know that?
Well, is it German? They seem to have a lot of terms for everything.
It's a pognophilia. It's pognophilia. I can't believe you asked me the root of this. Like, do you hear the questions I ask? Does it seem like?
Yeah, it was just this sort of thing where, you know, if you're going to like delve into other people's minds and bodies and kind of take them over, you know, their bodies and the way their brain operates are going to go off in certain ways that you may not expect. You know, so you jump into someone's body and they really like beards, you know, muscly men with beards, and you're saying, I suddenly have that attraction to beards. Okay.
So for everybody,
it makes perfect sense to me.
You can learn something on this podcast. You're a pognophiliac if you like that. We don't kink shame over here. What about a pyrophiliac? Nareen finding her true love.
Fire, yes. Who doesn't love fire, though? It's very pretty.
Yeah, that's why you created that spark thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If that other question wasn't my best question, then this has to be.
Oh, okay. It has to live up to that high quality.
Right. Are you paying respects to your publisher when you created Shadea as a god? Because she's the ultimate angry robot?
No, not at all. I was because the first book was, you know, that was written before I even had a publisher, so I had kind of ideas of how, you know, things might pan out. So yeah, so it predates going with Angry Robot.
All right. Last time I pitched you a board game, and this time I thought I could stick to my traditional novella ideas. I've got two.
All right, okay.
I've got two winners for you. The Magus and the Swine, a forbidden love between an elder Magus turned god and his trusty pig, Pernicious, struggle to keep their love a secret until one day Bizan's student catches them.
See, this just seems like you've looked at UK politics from about 8 years ago with I don't know if you guys heard about that, David Cameron and the pig.
No, what is please? No. please elaborate.
Well, you know, these special colleges they go to university at. There's apparently some sort of party or introduction right where he had to get his tackle out and put it in a pig.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you've ever seen that episode of Black Mirror,
is that where that's from? Is that what that's based?
No, everyone keeps asking Charlie Brooker about that, and he's like, I did not know about that beforehand, but that's odd.
What a fucking coincidence. We just lucked into that. The alternate title for that was Bizant and the Bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That works.
All right. And I've got one more for you. Jovian's Woodcut Book of Woodies. He does an updated version of the illustrated sex manual that Edrin is teasing the other elder tyrant with.
Yeah. I could see them doing that.
Okay.
Not sure I'd be the one to write it, but I could see them doing that.
I would be willing to illustrate it for you. I know nothing about woodcutting or, frankly,
Give
drawing.
it a go.
I would also show you some example drawings that I did, but
then, have you seen medieval manuscripts? There's weird stuff.
I looked this up
Knights
before.
fighting snails, knights riding snails. Apparently snails were a big thing. Snails the size of horses. What? And clearly,
there's something there.
Clearly, people have never seen lions.
I think there's something there. All right, I feel like those novella ideas were some home runs, so we're just gonna go with that.
Yeah.
Now, as you remember from last week, this podcast is #1 podcast for dick jokes and fantasy books. But it seems like instead of dick jokes, this book focused more on the balls.
Well, you've got to leave yourself somewhere to go, don't you?
So here's I'll end with the best one, but here's some of my favorites. With any luck, he'd land balls first on a whole tray of kitchen knives. Ugh.
Well, who wouldn't hope for that for some people?
All right, and then I have, where is it? One flung razor shards of ice at me. I dodged and kicked him in the balls hard enough to kill his unborn children. How hard is that?
That's pretty hard, yeah.
All right.
I don't want to get too graphic, but things are going to swell.
Where is this one? I'm trying to save the best one for last. Fuck it. Here it is. The best one comes from a giant snake.
Of course it does.
This here in my hand is only a little part to sever, and this is the rest. Sweet Lady Knight, Eva and Layla said together, it's huge. An enormous black blade slid from de Sever's flesh and settled into his hands. Mine is much larger than this fool's weapon, and I know how to use it.
I mean, it's pretty bad when you're getting some sick burns from a snake,
I think that's a great joke.
I mean, how do you even come back to that?
No, you don't. You got burned. Too bad to come back.
Yeah. You just gotta go. Yeah, fair enough. Let's just move on.
In a world of magic and tyrants and mass destruction and bugs taking you over, on your take of Pixar's classic A Bug's Life, is there anything more relatable than carving dicks into your desk?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was like when you were growing up, but we had some really old desks, that they'd been lingering there from the 70s. And these things had hearts, initials, dicks, stick figures, little tanks and planes, the whole works, this whole archaeological history of this desk.
Well, you do love archaeology, so this is that just seems to fit right in.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. You learn so much when you look at archaeology, especially those that don't really get reported. I can't remember exactly where it was, but there was one place where these male archaeologists were digging up all these little kind of offerings, and they were always found next to a wall. They were always kind of placed high up. These little bits of exquisite pottery and whatnot, and they were always going, oh, these are obviously ritual offerings, they're in a place of pride up high up in the walls and stuff like that. And there was a woman archaeologist came along and went, I guess you've never had children then. Let's put it on a low shelf. That's a brilliant idea. They'll obviously last long. Let's just put it up here out of their way. And then it's like, everything's it's for ritual reasons, when actually there's some really practical reason you're just not aware of.
Yeah, not everything's as simple. I remember reading something that the first cave drawings were just dicks. People's humor hasn't changed at all.
No, it really hasn't. People have always found it amusing, or wanting to boast. See that wall, mate? Yeah. Because they used to do that thing where they would get the red ochre, they'd put their hand on the wall, and then they would put it in their mouth and spit in it to make the handprint.
Yeah.
Like, you just imagine there's got one of those in the wall. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, you wouldn't need much pain from me. So I couldn't get this story out of my head of you fucking around with this sea mine, and I kept thinking, how prevalent is this? And in the last year alone, 2 of these old mines have blown up.
Yeah, sounds a bit right. Yeah.
You're playing with fucking fire, and not like Nareen wants you to.
Yeah. High explosives. Yeah.
So I was looking.
And there's a lot more still down there.
One went off in Poland in October 2020. They were trying to disarm it and failed, and it blew up. And then another one in England in February 2021.
Yeah, I mean, these things are still floating about.
I can't get this out of my head that you could have blown up and that we would have never have got the Maleficent 7.
Then every year all over France and Germany, they're still digging up bombs from World War II, just because there's so many bombs dropped.
What bombs actually worked? It doesn't seem like any.
I think there was just so many. Even if you get a 0.5% chance of failure, still a lot of bombs.
Right, just like the wards that they were creating, just took them out.
Then of course someone comes along and builds a building on top of it. Then it's just, we'll just dig out a new drain. Oh dear.
Oh no. I wonder if people get bomb insurance. All right. I think that's everything I got today for you.
Okay.
Once again, please shout out the social medias.
Yeah, it's at Cam Johnston on Twitter. You can also get me on Facebook. Just look for Cameron Johnston. And it's CameronJohnston.net for the website. And
the Maleficent 7's coming out August 10th. Please keep your eyes peeled if you haven't pre-ordered it yet.
Yep.
That money should be burning a hole in your pocket.
It'll be enormous fun. I can promise you that.
I bet. Can't wait to read it. Thank you so much for coming back on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'll come back on for the third part of my duology.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. Meaning I'll never see you again. Good luck. Cameron is the man. I was so thankful that he was willing to do these podcast interviews a week apart. And his commitment to coming on this show made me feel very loved for the first time in my life. Books on the horizon. I'm super excited about what's coming up, and you should be too. I'm also excited that I can, tell you some of the books that are coming up in case you're interested. Next week is going to be Cold Iron by Legend of the Game, Miles, a.k.a. Christian Cameron. Closing off 3 straight weeks of Cameron. I could have came up with a better name for that, but that's what I'm going with. Maybe I'll come up with something next week. The Road of Resistance by Chase Bowling, which is an hysterical interview that you should not miss. They all are. City of Lies by Sam Hawkey. And then The Coward by Stephen Arion, who is, I believe, today, I'm recording this on Tuesday, the episodes come out every Thursday of the week, without fail, no missed weeks, no missed books, is doing like a live panel with Cameron Johnston today. So after you hear this, and you're like, I need more Cameron Johnston just like I did, go listen to that panel. Or maybe wait till Steven's on the show, and then you can listen to it and it'll be twice as good. Thank you, everybody who's been rocking with me. I've been super excited about this, and let's keep the ball rolling. Keep on reading or something. Peace.